This is the Senate Transportation, Finance, and Policy Committee. We have, looks like 7 bills on the calendar today. But before we start, Mr. Woolrich, if you would call the roll, please.
Chair Newman,
Present.
Vice Chair Jasinski,
Here.
Senator Dibble. Here. Senator Carlson. Here. Senator Coleman. Senator Howe.
Present.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Here.
Senator Kent.
Here.
Senator Kiffmeyer.
Present.
Senator McEwen.
Here.
Senator Osmick.
Here.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Woolrich. A quorum is present. We have the first 2 bills are Senator Wiger's bills. First of all, Senator Wiger, welcome to the committee. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
We have got Senate File 126 and Senate File 127. They are both sound barrier bills, and the testifiers on both bills are the same. So, and they're going to be laid over. And I think what we'll do is let's start Senator Wiger with Senate File 126, and I believe you have an author's amendment on both bills. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The amendment just changes the year from 2022 to 2023.
I would entertain a motion on an author's amendment on Senate File 126. I believe it's Senate File A1. All those in favor of the A1 amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The A1 amendment is adopted. Then we have this on Senate File 127. This is, I believe, an identical amendment. It's an A1. Is that correct, Senator Wiger?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I would entertain a motion on the A1 author's amendment. All those in favor of the author's amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. Senator Wiger, you can address both bills at the same time, and that would be Senate File 126 as amended and Senate File 127 as amended. Senator Wiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, the Senate files 126, 127 address the need for additional funds for noise barriers. There's an appropriation of $500,000 in 126, 127 gets bolder with a $3 million request with a specific request for Oakdale. This has been an issue for many years that the neighbors have continued to petition what can be done. They've gone to the city council, they've gone to MnDOT. There's been some measurements, but the problem persists. We deeply appreciate the opportunity now to present those concerns. And with me is Mayor Paul Reinke, the mayor of Oakdale, who will share a proclamation. The city council actually met last night, a resolution addressing the need. We'll hear from Monty Korf, to my left, a neighbor, and also virtually we'll hear from Bonnie and Doug Peterson. And they're speaking on behalf of many, many neighbors on both sides of the freeway. And then also in your packet, you'll have a letter from Vicki and Brian Capoon, 2046 Helena Road, which further amplifies on the need. So that would be my introductory comments, and Mayor Reinke.
Thank you, Senator Wiger. Mayor, if you would give us your full name for the record, identify your capacity, and proceed with your testimony, please.
Very good. Thank you, Chair and members of the commission. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Reinke. I'm the mayor of Oakdale. I've been able to serve in this position the last 6 years. 14 years prior to that, I was the council member to the same body. This issue is a prevailing issue. This is not new to anybody in the city, and especially to the residents who have several who are testifying today. So the noise levels are just intolerable, quite frankly. And we are appreciative of Senator Wiger's willingness to carry this bill forward. The efforts that have been made, the patience that the residents have had, it's just time. And there seems to be an opportunity to get this wall created, and it will be done with a heartfelt thanks. So Chair, I'll stand for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next, Mr. Korf, if you would state your name, please.
Sure.
Just identify if you're here individually or representing an organization, and proceed with your testimony.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Monty Korf, and my wife and I moved into Oakdale in 1985, where this barrier would be 1810 Helena Road North. And it was bad back in 85, and it gets worse every year. I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'll make a couple quick points, and I'll talk a little bit about the neighborhood. One of the points is that we all know the truck drivers, it's very noisy for the trucks. And if you're gonna transport anything out east, you're either going down south to Albert Lee, or you're going through the 694, 494 intersection. And this barrier would be within a mile of that intersection. And the noise is very strong because of the truck traffic in that area. Another point I'd like to say is we have a barrier in that same spot on the west side, but not on the east side. So the noise goes both ways. So you know there's a problem in this area, and it should have been done a long time ago, and it's just awful, really. And it's going to get worse. I've been there since 1985, and it's going to continue to get worse. Neighborhood, we got a really kind of a cool neighborhood, very diverse neighborhood. I'll go through really quick. We got of the 7 neighbors next to me, they're all young families. I raised my family, my 4 kids, and they're all graduated Tartan and moved on. But we have 2 Hmong families, Hispanic family, and our African family, and 2 white families in this neighborhood. And the African family will have parties down in this area very often. And the noise is just, it's just horrible to have a party in there. We've had graduation parties, and you can't have a graduation party in your backyard. So, and when we were young, when I was raising my kids, we had a hockey rink down out in the back. They'd slide and everything. And now we got a whole new kind of generation of families coming in with young kids. And I'd love to have them be able to enjoy this backyard we have. There's about 300 feet, 400 feet maybe between the freeway and our houses. And it's just a great area for kids to play. They don't play that often, especially in the summer, and they surely could. So it's kind of a wasted space because of this noise issue. And then one more point I would like, if you have time, we had people come out and measure the noise on my property. I was there when they came, and it was, I mean, if you have time, it was really weird how they tested the measurements. So if you have time, I could go through it real quick, but if you don't, I get that you can't. So
My question, Mr. Korf,
Yep.
is the noise from the trucks.
Yep.
Is that from like Jake brakes, or is this
It's
just
all-
highway noise? from
it's
trucks?
highway noise, but it's a lot of semis and it's going through.
Okay.
When I was in my backyard, I mean, there's never a point where you don't see a semi going through. It's continual. So it's not like an airplane where the noise is strong and then it goes away. This is continual noise throughout the day.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Korf.
Yep.
We have Doug and Bonnie Peterson online, and I am looking for them.
I'm here.
Well,
This is Bonnie.
I'm glad you're here, Ms. Peterson. I'm not seeing you, but there you are. Okay, I've got you now.
Okay.
If you
My
would
husband's
identify
not here.
yourself, if you would identify yourself for the record, and then just go ahead with your testimony.
Okay, I'm Bonnie Rick Peterson, and I live at 2046 Helena Road. And my husband's not here. He's actually working the high school tournament at the Excel. But yeah, we've been complaining for years. And when we first moved in, we moved in 93. And yeah, the sound was there. and there were absolutely no trees in the backyard at all. I have pictures where it's just bare. Well, then they came out because of the noise, one of the neighbors, they no longer live here, but they decided to plant trees back there to try to help with the noise barrier. And they planted them, of course, it took a few years, they planted all poplars, but since then, I think most of them, you know, probably died out or whatever. But I mean, even with all the trees, well, then they put that barrier wall back there. And after they put that barrier wall, the noise was like threefold. I mean, you can't, I go out there at night and try to enjoy the nice weather, and it's too darn loud. People come over, I don't even want to have them come out there because it's embarrassing. You can't hold a conversation. It's just awful. It's awful. Our deck, I mean, you know, it needs to be redone, painted. It's like, why? We don't entertain out there anymore because the noise is just so bad, even with all the trees. And then to make it worse, our neighbor had issues with water in their backyard. And so they ended up having to cut down a bunch of their trees to fix that. And then the neighbors down the line from us wanted their backyards larger, so they started cutting down their trees. We still have all ours, all the way back to the freeway. But I mean, the barrier, I can see the barrier wall from here, and why they didn't put one in to reflect that sound back away from us is beyond me. But it's just, yeah, it's terrible. And I invite any one of you to come over here and sit on our deck any time of the day. In fact, I can take my computer out to the deck right now, and you can kind of listen to it. With COVID and all that, the traffic has died down, but the semis, you know, they're talking about the Jake break-in, just the normal noise that a semi makes. We get like 2 or 3 in the morning, or okay, between 10 and 2 in the morning, we get these kids out here, and I shouldn't say kids, people that decide they want to race their cars or race their, their motorcycles, crotch rockets, and they got to be going 100 miles an hour. And I talked to a highway patrol about it, and he goes, yeah, we're aware of it, but they can't do anything. But they'll wake you up right in the middle of the night out there. It's like they're revving them up, and they got to be going over 100 miles an hour. But the highway patrol won't chase them because they say it's too dangerous, and they're going too fast to get their license plate numbers. So it's just, yeah, it's terrible. It's crazy. Like, again, I would invite any of you to come out and listen to it.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's just so frustrating. And you know, it's off 2 decibels. And you know, yeah, anyway, okay.
Okay.
I'll stop.
Yeah, thank you. Your
Can you tell?
testimony
tell?
is passionate and very believable, and we really do appreciate the fact that you have shared that with us. There are some members that have got some questions, and we are going to go to those now. First up would be Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has a question to do with the language. I've read the letter from Vicki and Brian Capone, and they talk about the berm in regards to their issue of noise. But in the language of the bill 127, on line 1.9, it says where there are existing berms or other noise barriers, no additional noise barrier is required. I'm just concerned that with this letter and with this language, I want to be sure that if this were to be adopted, that the language wouldn't and inadvertently actually disallow a barrier for the noise.
Could I speak to that?
Senator Wiger,
Mr.
Clark,
Chair?
go ahead.
So I would be one of those affected. I have the berm in my backyard. And when you listen to the noise, it goes, you know, loud, loud, and then quiet, then loud, loud. So that berm does break some of the sound. And it would be beneficial. We get a lot of the sound from either side of that berm right now. So if we don't get the wall, I mean, I'm fine with that. If it goes to where the sound is coming, I'm totally fine with that.
See, we don't have the berm.
Yeah.
Senator Kiffmeyer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Generally, when they construct a wall, they do the wall. They don't go a piece and stop a piece. They don't do that. I mean, if the point is to do that, they build a berm. They don't build a berm, but if you have that, but in this legislation, you build that wall. It's a noise wall. They come in and they do it in one whole complete section. So my concern again, Senator Wiger, this may be for you a little bit more in that where there are existing berms, I don't know if that's necessary. And it might stop you from getting something done completely. One is higher than the other and different maintenance and so on. I'll just leave that as a comment, Mr. Chair, and then
Thank you,
it's going to be
Senator.
laid over and then we can work on it.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Senator Kiffmeyer, and thank you. The frustration is there was an elevation of the freeway several years ago, I think 10 inches or so. And then with berm levels and then another noise wall, it suddenly bounced over above berms, and it's confusing neighbors on both sides. So, if we get some momentum on this, we can further perfect the language. But we wanted to make sure that you knew there was a strong need, and what you heard from the Petersons and others is felt by hundreds of people on both sides of the freeway. We'll yield to additional questions here, but
So, Mr. Chair, that answers my question. And yes, I do understand the noise situation. So, but thank you so much.
Okay. Next up is Senator Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for hearing these bills. I represent the south part of Oakdale, and so my district also covers both sides of 694. This is just north of 94. And Mr. Chair, the committee may remember last year, you very graciously heard my bill for bonding, which we managed to do for a bridge over 4th Street, which is just south of this area. And I bring this up because it's all one problem. And what it is, and we've heard testimony from MnDOT over the years about this, we have seen such an increase in truck freight on all our highways, but particularly, as was described, anyone coming from the north, going point south or east, they come through this little, and it's just 2 lanes, part of 694. And right before you get to the 494 interchange, which is also completely inadequate for the amount of freight that we now see and that we know is going to continue to increase. So this is a very real issue. And I just really am grateful that you're hearing this. And I really hope that MnDOT will work with us to provide some relief for these neighbors, because it is that my sister-in-law and her family used to live there. My niece has also graduated from Tartan. And, these are wonderful family neighborhoods. And this is not a good way for folks to have to live. And it's not what so many of them bought their houses in that condition. This is because we've got all this increased freight has increased the noise. Thank you. And hi, Mayor Renke. It's good to see you. I'm sorry I'm not there in person.
Thank you, Senator Kent, and I do indeed agree with you. I hope MnDOT is listening. Next up, Senator Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is a really tough one. Yes, okay.
Here, I thought you were.
Still something not right here. I've got my sound off.
There we go. Needed 2 mutes. This is indeed a problem, and it's a problem all over the metro area. And there was an area, well, actually there was 3 areas that came one at a time in Egan, and 4, in fact, and we have done them one at a time. And one of the things that was offered by the city is evidently, now we do have that, MnDOT does do the survey and prioritizes based on a formula. And there was one particular area that I thought was worse than some of the others that were on that priority list. And I went out and measured the sound levels myself, and we've pushed it on the city. And evidently there is let's say, an encouragement that you could have MnDOT do the wall if the city pays 80% of it. If it's not on that list, if it's on the list and it is a priority in their program,
the city is asked to pay 20% of it. And so what's happened now in Egan on that particular stretch of wall, the city has agreed to participate in that wall, and they are going to build it. Other thing that is one of the options too, which I don't know that it's really acceptable, is something called diamond grinding, and that reduces the sound tremendously. Now in Egan, where these 4 locations are, one of the biggest things, of course, it's increased traffic, it's louder motorcycles, but also it was going from 55 miles an hour to 70 miles an hour. That just made it unlivable in these places. And so MnDOT has looked at those and has so far put up 3 of the walls and is now has agreed to put up the 4th. So I'm hoping that there's, and part of the problem was that there just wasn't enough money that was put into the wall program. Now we have the ability to perhaps put some more money into that wall program. So I'm supportive of your request, Senator Wiger. So we need to do this because you can't live next to these freeways when it's that loud.
Thank you, Senator Carlson. Senator Dibble.
Sure, I think Senator Johnson Stewart was ahead of me. I saw her hand up before mine.
Could be.
I don't want to jump out of queue.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Nobody heard me say age before.
I'm just looking at yellow hands on the computer. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Dibble. I'll be quick. First off, I don't think diamond grinding will work because I don't see that pavement is tined. So that's what causes the big noise in concrete pavement, is when it's grooved, like on 394 west of downtown. But I just want everybody to know there's 63,000 cars that drive on that stretch of road a day. So I feel your pain. I just have a quick question. How did you come up with the 3.5 million? Do you have an engineer's estimate on that, or is that based on, what is it based on? That's my question.
Mr. Chair, Senator Stewart Johnson Stewart. I asked Senate Council or in the revisor's office to draft something that would provide funds, and it's our best guess as to how to address it. It can be further refined if you are going in the direction of meeting the needs for noise barriers.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one other question. This may be for staff. I just want to raise the question. I thought MnDOT had a noise wall policy where a certain percentage of the neighbors have to vote for it in order for it to be approved. Has this neighborhood gone through that process? Are you aware of that policy? That's my question. Thank you.
Anyone in the room from MnDOT? No one is coming forward.
Mr. Chair, it sounds like that wouldn't be an issue. I mean, I'm assuming, I'm just saying that may be an additional step for you.
Okay, thank you. One second. Just been pointed out, Mr. Dukic is online. Can you help us with that question?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, John Dukic here with MnDOT Government Affairs, and we have someone from our noise wall barrier office on Natalie Reese, who might be able to respond to this question.
And that is Mr. Reese?
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Ms. Reese. Chair Newman.
Oh, yes, there you are. Okay, yeah. Identify yourself, please, and proceed with your testimony on this question.
Thanks, Chair Newman and committee. My name is Natalie Reese, R-I-E-S, and I work at MnDOT in the Metro District as the Noise and Air Quality Supervisor.
And can you answer Senator Johnson Stewart's question?
Yes, Senator Johnson Stewart, there is a voting process that we use for when noise walls are proposed as part of larger federal projects. So we do commonly use that voting program But there also is a separate program that we have that is the one that Senator Carlson was alluding to, that we call the standalone program. And that requires a cost share from the cities. And it's actually a competitive application-based process where the cities apply for funding. So there's not necessarily a voting process required for that, but we kind of depend on the cities to know where their constituents are desiring noise abatement.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. And Senator Wiger, Mr. Mayor, I think you've got two new ideas that you could maybe explore. Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My microphone is acting funny, so I'm gonna use my neighbor's. Here, I'll shift this, I can be seen. So Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank Senator Wiger for bringing this bill and Senator Carlson for talking about the issues in his community. And I've been around these issues, these noise impacts and noise wall conversations. And I think it begs kind of a larger, we're kind of triggering a larger conversation, I think, and considering this. I think it's kind of astonishing that we have Senator Wiger feeling like he needs to bring legislation forward to have, you know, on behalf of his mayor and his neighbors. Senator Kent spoke as well about the neighborhood impacted. You know, just the idea that there's a local cost share, that neighbors have to struggle and argue that there's not enough funds in the MnDOT budget to deal with the consequence of noise. That, you know, when a roadway gets raised 10 inches and a sound wall gets put on the opposite and the noise bounces off into the neighborhood, these things shouldn't be happening. MnDOT, in building these facilities through our communities, should take absolute responsibility for the consequence on the health and enjoyment of the places where we live and go about our other daily activities. You know, I will say that we had a fairly complicated, protracted, involved effort in a neighborhood that Senator Dietzig represents. Similar situation, the noise wall went up, the noise was deflected up into the neighborhood. And it took a long time to persuade MnDOT that there was this effect, this phenomenon. Their standard measures didn't quite reflect that. They didn't even think about it in the first place. Once we finally persuaded them to take measurements from the right places, you know, the effect was demonstrated. And then I'll say MnDOT was great. They were very creative. They came up with an attenuation system, so the noise wall, you know, blocking the neighbors on the other side from the noise remained, which was important, but then the deflection was attenuated through some surface treatments of the wall. But it took a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it was as if though the consequence of these facilities weren't top of mind with the agency. So I just wanted to express that. I think we need the agency to really think about noise more systematically, more programmatically. And it shouldn't be a question of resources. I mean, it just shouldn't be. MnDOT absolutely needs to take responsibility for the effect of their facilities. I mean, we need, you know, we've got Mr. Houseauden here. We're happy that trucks are rolling through our communities, bringing prosperity and commerce all over, but they're noisy. You know, they have an effect and a consequence, and we can deal with that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dibble, thank you. And as I've listened to the testimony today, I can't help but think about where I live and the deck that I sit on. And it's absolutely quiet, absolutely quiet. So Senator Wiger, thank you for bringing the bill forward. I do believe, and I agree with Senator Dibble, this is an important issue. Final words before we lay your bill over, Senator Wiger.
Mr. Chair, members, thank you very much on behalf of Oakdale that you've heard the concerns. It's a problem that only escalates each year with increasing traffic, and with changes in the road, it's been exacerbated. Thank you, Senator Newman, for sharing that you enjoy tranquility on your deck, and it's absolutely unbearable for Monty, for hundreds of people on both sides, and they've gone to the city council. the city council doesn't have, that money. They're trying to get a public safety building right now and address other issues. And, and so they come to you with the work that's done with MnDOT, and I sincerely hope that we can find a way to address an issue that has been around for decades and needs to be addressed, and you're in a position to be of help. So thank you so much for hearing our concerns.
You're welcome, Senator Ywca. Thank you very much to your witnesses that came in today. Thank you for coming. And with that, Senate File 126 as amended is laid over. Senate File 127 as amended is laid over. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Next on the docket is Senator Pratt. Senate File 3531.
Take the tall chair.
Senator Pratt, Senate File 3531. I don't believe you have an amendment. Is that correct? You do not.
I don't.
Okay.
Ms. Stango drafted it perfectly the first time.
Congratulations, you are unique. Senator Pratt, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Senate File 3531 is a reaction to recommendation number 11 in the independent review. The report notes that the state needed to be innovative during the pandemic or during the pandemic restrictions in order to continue servicing Minnesotans and maintain public safety. This included remote proctoring of knowledge tests and leveraging third parties to proctor those tests. The report notes that when demands of tests outpaces the capacity, we should be considering alternative options. And so while the independent expert review recommends third-party testing for all licenses, this bill focuses specifically on commercial driver's licenses. So just briefly, the program must apply to DVS and must be located in the state of Minnesota. The certification is valid for 4 years. It requires testers to test in a manner as required by state and federal law. So we want to make sure that we maintain the same quality. The DVS will be held harmless for claims made after accidents caused after passing a third-party tester, that they must audit the programs that they oversee, and they may cancel or suspend a tester's license. There is a fiscal note, I believe, just got handed out. And I would ask staff to maybe walk through that. Mr. Chair, this is a way for us to address the problems that we're having with the supply chain and getting commercial drivers on the road.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. And I will ask Ms. Boyd to go through the fiscal note, but I'm going to give her a chance to read it. I think it's, we'll go through testifiers first, and then I'll go to Ms. Boyd. First testifier would be Mr. Housladen. Welcome to the committee. State your name and with whom you are associated, and proceed with your testimony, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm John Housladen, president of the Minnesota Trucking Association, and I'm here to testify on behalf of our 620 member fleets and their allied vendors in support of Senate File 3531. We do want to thank Senator Pratt for taking the lead on introducing this bill and recognizing the importance of the industry and the challenges we face. So thank you for that. And as was said, Senate File 3531 is an attempt to address a critical long-term issue facing the trucking industry, and that is a significant shortage of professional truck drivers. According to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, Minnesota is currently facing a shortage of over 5,200 professional truck drivers. Nationally, That number is 80,000. It's projected to grow to 160,000 in 8 years. And what's so clearly demonstrated during the pandemic and the recent supply chain challenges, trucking truly is the essential industry that keeps everything moving. From food to medical supplies to building materials, virtually everything spends some time on a truck. And so as you can guess, when those truck seats are empty, the trucks are not rolling. And under the new entry-level driver training, or the ELDT regulations that took effect just last month, every new truck driver must be trained according to the new federal standard. Once their training is complete, those desiring to take the CDL licensing skills tests often face limited or no testing slots at Minnesota Driver and Vehicle Services exam stations. So such barriers delay entry of workers into these essential jobs, and frankly, in some cases, just cause them to seek a job elsewhere because it takes too long. Minnesota already allows third-party CDL testing. State institutions like technical colleges, school bus operations, and trucking fleets may be certified already as third-party skill test examiners. And as was stated by the author, these entities must meet training and credentialing requirements. They're subject to audit and must conduct at least 12 road tests to remain certified in the case of fleets. However, private truck driver training schools, which are an important tool to bring people into this industry, are not allowed to conduct skills tests. 20 other states currently allow private truck driver training programs to conduct third-party testing. And as these states demonstrate, it can be done safely and in a manner that ensures integrity and allows only qualified drivers to receive their CDL. So we believe that passage of Senate File 3531 will add important capacity to put more men and women in these good paying positions as professional truck drivers. And I know that our next testifier, who is also a member association, is a school that can speak specifically to what they are doing and how they do it in other states. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Houseladen. Our next testifier is Steve Gold, and we have him online. Mr. Gold, welcome to the committee. If you would state your name, with whom you are associated, and proceed with your testimony, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Steve Gold. I am the founder and the Chief Executive Officer of the 160 Driving Academy. And I'm here today to testify in support of Senate File 3531. And thank you, Senator Pratt. A little bit about the 160 Driving Academy. Our company is headquartered in Evanston, Illinois. We're the largest commercial driving school in the United States. We plan on training 40,000 individuals this year for their commercial driver's license and putting them in our nation's highway. In the state of Minnesota, we have 3 schools in Eagan, St. Cloud, and Rochester, and we plan on training 3,000 Minnesota residents on getting their commercial driver's license this year. And we're looking at opening a 4th school in Mankato. Because we operate so many schools, we're licensed to do this in 42 different states across the nation, across 135 different CDL schools. So we have a unique perspective of how to do this. We're also a licensed third-party examiner in 16 of those states. And I would tell you that Minnesota is somewhat of a unique state of all the states we do CDL training, mainly because right now, to get a student a test takes anywhere from 3 to 4 months after they complete our class. So you have students that will graduate from our program today, and they have to wait until literally June or July right now to get a test at the DVS to actually test for their CDL with a state examiner. And so that's a unique situation. We don't have any other state we do business with has that length of wait for a student to get their commercial driver's license, start making money, and get into the industry. So in other states where we do this, typically a long wait would be considered something like 2 weeks. So as far as third-party testing is concerned, obviously we can get students trained and then tested and then into their jobs immediately. And like I said, we do this in about 15 other states. In the other states we do this, we have an entirely separate team. There's no conflict of interest. And every state has legislation where the person who trains the student can't also examine the student. And this legislation has the same. So the benefits of creating a third-party testing model for CDL schools are many. Most importantly, we get people jobs right away. Our starting salary for the employers we work with, somewhere right now is about $60,000 to $70,000 in the state of Minnesota. By delaying them 4 months is a real issue for a lot of them because they're unemployed or underemployed. So the ability to get people into jobs faster is a real key here. But there's other benefits like not having students with trucks go to DMVs and not competing with teens getting their Class D license using the same examiner. So other states have taken on third-party examination for CDL schools because it just eliminates the stress of competing priorities between examiner training a Class D passenger student and a CDL Class A student. So it eliminates a lot of the stress on the DMVs. As a private enterprise, we take it on, and then you don't have trucks going into DMVs. You're not stretching all resources. It makes a ton of sense. And I understand that other states that don't do it right now are quickly adopting as well, such as the state of New York. So totally support Senate File 3531. And thank you very much for taking the time to listen today.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Our next testifier is Mr. Benner. You would come forward. Welcome to the committee, Mr. Benner. If you would state your name for the record, identify whom you are with, and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Pat Benner, and I'm a legislative representative with AFSCME Council 5. Thank you, Senator Pratt, and members for considering my testimony today. AFSCME Council 5 respectfully opposes Senate File 3531. We feel strongly that the privatization of government services will lead to more expensive outcomes for Minnesotans while sacrificing the integrity of the impartial process currently in place and increase the risk of bad actors committing fraudulent activity. We are deeply concerned that implementing a third-party testing program for CDLs will just be another avenue for profit within trucking companies while the larger sins of the industry go unchecked. We feel that the state has the capacity to get timely local road exams for both CDL and Class D licenses if the legislature can implement the other recommendations in Mr. King's independent expert review for exam stations, as well as fund the governor's deficiency request for DVS. I want to just quickly reiterate the concerns I spoke of on Tuesday pertaining to losing the integrity of the process. It is vital that our examiners remain impartial and don't have any conflict of interest when administering a road exam. Our roads, at least pre-COVID, were among the safest in the nation. Much of that is due to the enforcement of traffic laws and effective engineering, but also our state's reputation and as well as for having less aggressive driving than you might find on the East Coast. But it also is because we have an impartial agency that administers license exams and doesn't award licenses to those that cannot demonstrate an adequate level of proficiency. Allowing driving schools to test their own students would create an incentive to sell a product that guarantees the outcome. And these third-party testers are further pressured by the widely reported truck driver shortage across the country. I will say that trucking companies need new drivers constantly because the churn of the industry is so large. Recent estimates of turnover in over-the-road trucking are between 90 and 100%. We have very serious concerns that this incredibly high rate of turnover, industries with that much churn require new recruits constantly, and that leads to a significant burden on state resources. CDL exams are an hour and a half long, 4 or 5 times longer than a Class D exam. So if someone who's taking a CDL exam fails, there is a significant opportunity cost loss because there's no way to have walk-ins at this time for DVS if someone fails early in on their CDL exam. Driver preparedness is vital, even more so for CDLs because the length of that time and the increased level of danger of having an unqualified truck driver on the roads. We are cautiously optimistic that the recent changes to federal laws pertaining to truck driver training, which does require more behind the wheel training, could assist in this issue of driver preparedness, but we will need to have just have some time to see that play out. We're further troubled by the nature of the high turnover that plagues the trucking industry. A cursory search for articles that examine truck driver shortages nationwide highlight an industry that has largely been deregulated over the last 40 to 50 years. Wages have fallen, fewer of the jobs are unionized, and workers have spoken to unsafe working conditions and a culture that doesn't value drivers as human beings. We feel that allowing this industry to add another provision where they can essentially self-regulate is unwise at this time. There is a perverse incentive to generate a consistent flow of trainee drivers without an incentive to retain them. In an article recently published in Time Magazine back in February, quote,
Mr. Benner, if you could wrap up.
I'll finish after this paragraph.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Quote, obtaining a CDL takes a few weeks. Only after that do most newly licensed drivers spend significant time on the road when they're paired with more experienced drivers who are supposed to show them the ropes. This saves the companies money because federal regulations stipulate that truck drivers can only drive 11 hours straight after 10 hours off. Putting two drivers together lets one take the wheel while the other sleeps in the truck and enables companies to move freight in half the time it would take a solo driver. In addition, newly licensed drivers are paid cents per mile to haul the loads, providing a major source of cheap labor. Sorry, I'll get to the last sentence here. So, all right. One other thing to note is that all of our neighboring states have implemented CDL third-party testing. That is true. But they all also still have a shortage of truckers. That has remained unchanged. So again, we support all the other findings regarding exam stations in the King report and in the OLA report from March of 2021, with the exception of third-party testing. We think all steps that improve the state's capacity to administer road exams efficiently and improving student preparedness are welcome. We've done the work well in years past, but we need additional investment to meet the growing demands of our growing population. Thank you so much. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. Ms. Boyd, could you walk us briefly through the fiscal note, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. You've all been handed out the fiscal note for the, I'm sorry, for 3531. I'm going to point your attention instead of the first page to the second page of the fiscal note. Because there's a difference between expenditures and revenues assumed as a consequence of this bill. The expenditures are what we've assumed in past iterations of this language, that there will be 4 FTEs needed by the department, both for training, and there are 2, I believe, needed for approving applications and conducting training of new third-party testers, and 2 FTEs to conduct auditing functions to ensure that third-party testers and testing programs are in compliance with state and federal regulations. And this includes, I believe, ride-alongs, 2 ride-alongs annually, and also record-keeping reports and annual training reviews. So that's 4 FTEs annually, and that would be on the grid on page 2. That comes out to $429,000 in the first year, because there are, of course, one-time staff costs in the first year, and then $390,000 a year thereafter. And then you'll also see a reduction in revenue of $11,000 a year. And that would be because if you look at the bottom of page 2 in the fiscal note and the narrative, currently, let's see, currently individuals taking the CDL road test pay a retest fee if the individual fails the exam twice and is taking it for a 3rd time. That 3rd time can now be provided by a third-party tester. That means the department would lose approximately $11,000 a year retake fee revenue. So that is the crux of the fiscal note, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd. We will now go to member questions. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want more of a comment in favor of Senate File 3531. I last year authored the third-party testing for bus drivers, and that seemed to be very successful, hearing great feedback on that. And again, I think even Mr. Benner said that there's a high turnover, and with a high turnover, they all have to be tested. And if we don't have enough people to test them, they're going to go somewhere else. And I know every one of us here sitting behind the table likes products delivered to their home. All our products, we're getting food from, you name it, to products we're receiving by these truck drivers, getting them to our homes. I think it's a great bill. And again, if we don't have the time to be testing these people by the department, having third-party testers allow these to get tested, get people on the road, and get products and services delivered to our homes. So again, in support of Senate File 3531, thank you, Senator Pratt.
Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess my question would be for Mr. Hausladen or Mr. Gold. Is it feasible that someone that wanted to get into the truck driving field here in Minnesota could move to one of our neighboring states, do the third-party testing, and then would they not be able to drive a truck in Minnesota with an Iowa, Wisconsin, South Dakota, North Dakota license?
Mr. Hausladen.
Mr. Chair, a CDL is a national license, so once you're credentialed in a state, you can travel in any jurisdiction.
Senator Howe.
Thank you. So if someone wants to enter the truck driving field and finds out that he's delayed for months from getting a job here, would that not drive folks to possibly move outside the state and take up residence in one of the surrounding states, get the truck driving job, and actually, I would believe, be able to, we're not only losing folks that could actually fill the jobs that are here, but they could actually be driving and maybe even they'd be on our roads and they're no less safe than they are here because it's a national standard. Is that not correct?
Mr. Hausladen.
Mr. Chair, Senator Howe, trucking is a mobile industry. People do relocate to different states for a variety of reasons, and one of them could be because they can't obtain the training in a quick manner, or if not the training, the testing in a quick manner.
Senator Osmek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Bender, in your comments, you recognize the fact that surrounding states have this third-party testing. Can you define that there, or can you tell me if there are any increased numbers of fatalities, accidents as a result of this, that there's a causal relationship or any actual statistical evidence that shows that third-party training and third-party evaluation and testing is not producing qualified people on the road?
Mr. Benner.
Mr. Chair, Senator Osmek, I can only speak to Minnesota being in the top 5 for both interstate fatality rates and non-interstate road fatality rates. And that the other states in our neighboring areas, I believe, topped out for non-interstate rates at 10th or 11th. Though I will say for interstate fatality rates in North Dakota, either North Dakota or South Dakota, I cannot remember which, is actually slightly better than ours. But that's the nature of what I have.
Mr. Gold, can you have anything to add to Senator Osmek's question?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. And Senator Osmek, I would tell you, I'm looking at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's highway fatality incidents that they capture per 100 million miles by state. And indeed, Minnesota is one of the best states, but right next to it is Michigan, which is a third-party testing state, and then New York, which is a third-party testing state, and Wisconsin, which is a third-party state. Then right after that is Maryland, and then Arizona, Washington, Virginia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, all third-party testing states. And I'm happy to submit this data if you'd like. It's publicly available through the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Those states are all third-party examination states, and that data would tell you that while Minnesota has low highway incidents and fatalities with heavy trucks, so do those other states, which are indeed third-party examination states.
Senator Osmek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I guess my comment here is that, if people, we know who would be taking these third-party tests. That's a fact, because they're not going through the regular examination program. it should be painfully easy to be able to identify if somebody got into an accident, that they were trained through third party. And I have not heard one shred of evidence that says that third party candidates and third party testing does not produce a quality candidate. There's no evidence that shows it. And we have other states, including Wisconsin, that have this functionality. If we have third party people are tested in third party and they're running into people and killing people and running off the road, doing all the kinds of things that are bad for the highways, you statistically be able to find that. There is none. So I don't understand why anybody would be fighting for this. And just for the record again, and everybody knows, I do drive a school bus. I was third party tested. I've not had a problem. And I've had a lot of people that have gone through that program that work for my bus company that have no problem whatsoever. I think we're trying to create a turf war here, Mr. Bender. I understand why AFSCME wouldn't want their turf impinged upon, but this is a matter of common sense as far as I'm concerned. So if there is any evidence that shows that people who are third-party tested create or have more accidents than people that are not, bring it in, because that would certainly change my opinion of the situation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Osmic. And Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of thoughts, maybe a question for Senator Pratt. Sincere question, kind of along these lines and raised by Mr. Benner, the concern about conflict of interest, the interest of a third-party tester to pass potential driver who would like a CDL. How does your bill address that and guard against that possibility?
And Senator Dibble, who are you directing the question to?
Senator Pratt.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Dibble. And I'm actually going to pass that question off to Mr. Houseladen because we were just talking about that kind of offline. And I think he has the experience to talk about what we've seen in other states. Mr. Houseladen.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dibble, thank you. I would just start by making the observation that all third-party testers now must test to the new entry-level driver training standard, which didn't exist prior to February 7th. But many of these programs, including schools like 160 Driving Academy, voluntarily adopted these 1 or 2 years ago. And as Mr. Gold said, all of these other states have clarification that the trainer cannot be the examiner, and we support that. And if that's not clear enough in this bill, we certainly can spell that out, but we support that premise. And I would just also say, Senator Dibble, trucking companies want to hire safe people because it is a core value. It's the right thing to do. It's good business sense. And they're not going to recruit people from schools that are putting out a product that are hurting people. That is the ultimate test of whether this is a good program or not. And you've heard the data from other states. And so happy to answer anything more, Senator Dibble, but that's how I would address that.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you. And I appreciate that the trainer can't be the tester. I mean, I think we had the discussion around passenger vehicle licensure, which was highly problematic. It gets us a little closer. I still worry about the third-party testing entity that is going out and advertising. We pass lots of people, I mean, because it's not, they should have absolutely no interest in passing someone. They should only be interested in their ability to drive safely. Same, I mean, that is self-evident if we're talking about public employees who are guarding for the public's interest and the public good. So that still creates a little hesitation in my mind, but we probably don't have time, Mr. Chair, but the underlying premise and argument for this bill is to address the driver shortage. The argument that has been made to counter that is that our surrounding states continue to have a driver shortage. I did read the Time magazine article, and it's a very, very strong argument that there is actually no shortage of people with CDLs. There's a huge shortage of people who are currently driving because they just can't make a decent living. The conditions are horrendous, and they're not paid well, and they're not treated well. And so the turnover and the churn is extraordinary. And third-party testing probably won't address that. It'll just create more people with CDLs who get in for a little bit and then get out because it's not a good job given how much they're compensated and the conditions of employment. How do you respond to those arguments, Mr. Household?
Mr. Chair, Senator Dibble, let me just say the driver shortage we're experiencing today is systemic. It's been around for a long time. And as an organization, when we talk about what is the kind of programming and training we need to do for our members, driver retention is often the top issue. Quality of life, ensuring safety. How do you put the right equipment under them? And frankly, when we look at the data about what drivers are being paid today, there are very good high-paying jobs. Not going to denigrate any driver, but it is also a function of how many hours you are willing to drive. If you're an independent contractor, how you're willing to run your business. But what I can tell you is I have member companies that last year gave 2 increases to their drivers in compensation. Compensation has gone up dramatically. And if we want to talk more offline about the time article, we could. But what I can tell you is companies are committed to having successful drivers. If drivers are not logging hours, they're not being efficient, if they're having crashes, this is bad for public safety, it's bad for business. So fleets spend a lot of time in ensuring that they're coaching their drivers, if they're independent contractors, giving them business training. And so I can only speak for our members to say that they're very committed to making sure these men and women who've made a commitment are going to stay in this industry because of how critical it is to keep them.
Senator Dibble.
I'll just conclude by saying, well, I do agree, and the article does say that those who are paid well do stick with it. So that's a good thing. So maybe we can reach and maybe have some influence over those circumstances, the private contractors and or the companies that aren't paying their fleet drivers well, to improve the overall picture, to emulate what you and your member companies are doing, because that does work. Thank you.
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask for a roll call on this vote.
Well, granted. I do not see any other questions from members. Senator Pratt, final comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments. Mr. Chair, this isn't meant to replace the state testing, as the independent expert review said. And I'm going to quote on page 25, where demand significantly outpaces supply, alternative options should be considered. And this is one of the alternative options that have worked in other states or neighboring states and has been done so successfully. I'll just say on a side, in the Jobs Committee, we have supported workforce development training, specifically in the CDL. One of the more successful programs has been through the St. Paul YWCA. The demand for that program is incredibly high. They are booked out at least 3 or 4 classes ahead of what they can actually train. And these are people coming from low income jobs, trying to find that good paying, family sustaining wage. We need to find a way in order to get those folks into those careers, not only to help move commerce across the state, but also to help improve the lives of those people who are getting these new commercial driver's license. So, Mr. Chair, I would move that Senate File 3531 pass and be referred to the Committee on State Government.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. Mr. Woolward, you take the roll, please.
Chair Newman.
Yes.
Vice Chair Jasinski.
Aye.
Senator Dibble.
No.
Senator Carlson. No. Senator Coleman.
Aye.
Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
No.
Senator Kent.
No.
Senator Kiffmeyer.
Aye.
Senator McEwen.
No.
Senator Osmic.
Yes.
Senator Pratt.
Aye.
On a vote of 7-5, Senator Pratt's motion passes and he is on his way to state government. Next up on our agenda is Senator Limmer's bill, Senate File 3041. Senator Limmer, welcome to the committee.
I'm glad to be here. This is almost as exciting as the Judiciary Committee.
Well, not quite, but we are happy to see you. Senate File 3041, Senator Limmer, to your bill.
Senate File 3041 is a very brief bill. Over the last few years, we have an organization called the Capital Area Security Advisory Committee. It's a bipartisan group along with the administration, and we review issues pertaining to the security of the Capitol complex. It's been around for a few years, but when we first began this committee, we put a sunset on it. I'm a member of that committee, as Senator Dibble is on it as well. From the Senate, we are the only two members, and there's two members from the House. And the Lieutenant Governor chairs that committee. But nevertheless, the sunset is rather straightforward. We'd like to remove the sunset. And the reason why is that I think it's been very pronounced that there is a need for Capitol security, especially in recent years with not only normal day-to-day people around the Capitol and inside the Capitol. There's also a need for recommending added security personnel inside the Capitol building during the session, as well as non-session times. And of course, sometimes the Capitol is the focal point of protest, and that too is an added concern, not only for the condition of the buildings, but also the security of the people that work here. And so it's just a simple repeal of a sunset that we're seeking. And we do have some witness or testifiers as well.
Yeah, I have them, Senator Limmer. The first one up is Katie Knudsen with DPS. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name, with whom you are associated, and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I am Katie Knudsen. I am the Chief of Staff for the Department of Public Safety. Glad to be with you all here today. I am here to testify in support both on behalf of the Department of Public Safety and the Department of Administration on the repeal of this sunset. We agree with Senator Limmer and the other members of the committee that this committee serves a good purpose, and we would like to see it continue.
Thank you. We also have Mr. Ywca, I think it's pronounced, online, if I'm not mistaken. I saw you flash in.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
There you are.
Good
Identify
afternoon,
yourself,
Mr.
please, and proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Chris Gibbon. I'm the Director of Facilities Management for the buildings that admin manages, including the Capitol complex here. I really don't have anything to add. I've been on the committee since it was started in 2012. I'm proud to serve on it, and I believe we've done a lot of good work over the years with security enhancements, and we hope to continue that. We have a bonding request in for some additional security enhancements on the complex. And so we think this is a good forum for us to do the work to help keep everybody that comes to the Capitol complex, works on the Capitol complex, and the buildings of the Capitol complex safe and secure as possible, while allowing, of course, openness too. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. That is the witnesses Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things very quickly. Senator Limmer, may I go on your bill as a co-author?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I'll have staff send the message to the desk. I support the bill. I serve on the task force or the advisory commission, and I think they do good work, as has already been described. I won't go into that. I just thought I'd also mention that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court also serves as a voting member. So all three branches of government that are housed on the campus are represented as full voting members. And then representatives from the executive branch and the state patrol and other entities serve as members, non-voting members and professional advisors. And it's through that work that we came up with a lot of the physical as well as operational improvements that we've seen occur on the buildings all around the campus. It doesn't deal as much with the Capitol building itself, but the entire operation and security around the entire campus. And some of the improvements to the staffing complement that we dealt with in this committee last year came out of those recommendations. So it does good work and we should perpetuate.
Thank you, Senator Tibble. I do not see any other questions from members. Senator Kiffmeyer, would you care to move this bill, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move Senate File 3041 to be recommended to pass and be re-referred to the State Government Committee.
All those in favor of Senator Kiffmeyer's motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion
Aye.
passes, and Senator Limmer, you are on your way to state government.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, it's been an exciting time here. Now in Judiciary Committee.
We are
we-
nicer to you than you are to us.
I'll try and control my members, Mr. Chair.
Next file up is Senator Jasinski's file, Senate File 3072. And Senator Jasinski, to start with, I believe you have an A4 amendment. That is an author's amendment. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'd like to move the A4 amendment.
All those in favor of Senator Jasinski's author's amendment, the A4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know it's Thursday afternoon after 4 p.m., so I'm going to try and summarize this as briefly as I can. But if anyone would like me to go into more detail, I'm certainly happy to do that. But as you all know, last year, the Minnesota Senate passed a bill 67-0 to work on the items we're talking about here today. We could not get agreement in the House. So this last year, we had a auto salvage task force put together. We met about 7 times starting in September to come up with language that all the stakeholders could agree on. The main item here is there was a loophole in vehicles, late model years that were either older than 6 years or less than $9,000 in value, that if they were severely damaged and the insurance company paid them as a total loss, they were not stamped as a prior salvage. So we worked through lots of different language, talked to lots of stakeholders. I'd like to thank the members of the task force for their 7 meetings they attended, as well as all the staff, but Representative Ywca, Representative Petersburg, and Senator Carlson all served on this committee. It was everyone agreed on the final language. And then also I'd like to thank Mr. Jason Lucina, who helped tremendously, kind of the operational guy that brought some common sense to how things are actually done, how we could correct the issue and move forward. And also just as a note, we have a letter that was not received in time of support from LKQ. It's posted online. If you want to check online, you can see that letter that they're in support of this bill as well. Again, it cleans up some language. It got a little bit more complicated than we originally intended to clean up the language because the language was quite dated in the bill. And again, if members want Ms. Stengel to go through the language, I would certainly open that up. But that is basically what we did. Did a lot of things. We originally had some language that had something that didn't actually work with neighboring states. So we changed that as part of the recommendation. And that was at one time we thought we wanted an insurance loss stamp on the title to basically be a little bit different, but we found out then that did not cooperate with other states, so we would be an outlier, so we changed that. And then the amendment is just a technical amendment that cleaned up some language to make sure that this was usable in the workforce or in the real world of how it was done. One of the big things was stamping a prior salvage versus applying for a prior salvage at auction sites. what would happen, they would have had to wait quite some time to sell those vehicles. So when it was deemed that they were a total loss, they could be stamped rather than applying for that. So with that, I think we have one testifier. I would open that up at this time, and then if members do want to go through line by line in more detail, I'm happy to go through that, have Ms. Stengel go through that. And I'll open it up to Mr. Chair, or the chair's discretion on how you'd like to do that.
This bill, I don't remember how many iterations of this we have seen, but I'm rather hoping that it will be the last time we see it here. We have Mr. Anderson, you want to come forward? From DVS? Mr. Anderson, welcome to the committee. Please state your name, with whom you're affiliated, and proceed.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Tony Anderson. I'm the Operations Director for Driver and Vehicle Services. I just want to take this opportunity to thank members of the Salvage Task Force, including Senator Jasinski, Senator Carlson, DVS staff, and Senate staff that spent many hours on this bill. DVS has no concerns with the bill, and we are confident DVS can implement and administer these changes to the salvage title process. As shown in the fiscal note, there is no fiscal impact to DVS as a result of this bill. DVS is confident these changes will improve transparency for automobile customers in regards to title branding. Thanks again for the opportunity. Mr. Chair, that concludes my my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Anderson.
Here for questions.
And I am not seeing any member questions. Senator Jasinski, final comments in your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I just want to thank all the members, all the staff, the department to working through this. Again, 7 meetings. We put a lot of time in this to get this right. It's a bipartisan bill, and I apologize for some reason, Senator Carlson, you're not on the bill, but I will have you added. And I know that in the House, they're doing a bipartisan bill as well. So we look forward to getting this to the floor. And again, this is a transparency bill. This protects our citizens to make sure that if a vehicle was severely damaged, that at least they have knowledge of that. When they're buying that vehicle, as I said in many testimonies, if my daughter, or you're buying a car for your high school child, and you want to know some transparency on that car, there's lots of avenues out there online nowadays, so that if you do get this alert that there's been damage, you can go online, you can Google the vehicle, and you can see lots of information on what happened to the vehicle. So again, I think it's a great bill. Look forward to passing it, and thank you for your patience in getting this bill done. And yes, I hope this is the last time we see this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Carlson's got the final word, apparently.
Well, Mr. Chair, did we do the amendment?
Pardon me?
We did.
We
Okay.
did adopt, it was an author's amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Jasinski, your motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move Senate file number 3072 as amended be passed and be re-referred to the Commerce Committee.
All those in favor of Senator Jasinski's motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes. Senate File 3072 is re-referred to the Commerce Committee. Members, the final bill on our agenda this afternoon is Senate File number 3832, Senator Newman's bill. And I believe, Senator Newman, you have an A1 amendment. Is that correct? I do, and that would be an author's amendment, and it simply changes the effective date of the bill, and I would move the A1 amendment.
Senator Newman moves the A1 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. A1 amendment has been adopted. Senator Newman, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A pretty straightforward bill. There is a study that has been ordered to be completed by the Senate for the transportation studies. And as originally drafted, that study was to be paid out of the Trunk Highway Fund. This transfers the responsibility for paying for that study to the Met Council. And it is just that straightforward. I am not aware of any opposition to the bill, but I would try and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Senator Newman. Questions, any members? Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just thought I would mention to Senator Newman and members in the public that I did hear from the Met Council, and they, we can't say they support the bill, but they don't object to the bill.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. Members, other questions or comments? Seeing none, Senator Newman, would you like to move your bill? Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Newman, this bill will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you.
There being no other agenda items, we are hereby adjourned.